Welcome back to another episode of the Believers Club. Hi guys, my name is Serena,
And I'm Marge.
and we are back with a new episode. Today we're going to be talking about boundaries, why they're necessary, what are they, how do you set them, what's the good and the bad when you set boundaries. So everything boundary related. It could be boundaries in your relationships, business, anything in life in general. So we want to just talk about everything boundary related.
Yeah, what the fuck are boundaries and why are they so important? And this was a topic that was the reason this topic came about, in my opinion personally, was because it was a topic that I learned recently. Like, I learned why this is so important, and I think we all go through that stage at some point where we finally understand why something is so important, and then you want to share it with people, right?
Yeah.
And today was one of them. And boundaries, it's one of those things that I think when you first are challenged to, first of all, let's talk about what boundaries are in our personal opinions, like what they mean to us in our life. So I think boundaries are your gatekeeper. It's like the thing that you have put in place to protect yourself, and not from fear, not from insecurities or any of those, but it's your self-love tools.
Yes.
It's your self-love tools. It's what you need to be able to operate at your best and highest self.
Yeah.
And it's what you require from other people to be in your bubble and to be a part of your close world. And boundaries can range from, like, one, it should be about how you're getting treated, and it should be, your deal breakers, like things that you just can't have in your life, right? And you set the tone for how people treat you by having certain boundaries in place. Now, I'm not talking about being like a high maintenance or snooty or anything like that. I'm talking about you understanding what you need and what works for you, and what is crossing the line, in your opinion, whether it's values, within your friendships, within your relationships, and also understanding what the trajectory of your life is. Where are you going, and what do you need to get there? Because if you don't know what your boundaries are, you usually also don't know what your destination is in life, right? And I'll use a very quick example. Like, I know from this point in my life that I cannot do friends with benefits sort of situations, right? We're talking about, what we're talking about. And so I had to set a boundary for myself, because I knew that I want to attract marriage, family, and all those things in my future. I want to attract a committed relationship. So I set a boundary for myself, which was, I can't do that anymore. And once that boundary was put in place for myself, anybody that came into my world that was about to cross that boundary, I had to state to them, like, this is what I can't do. I'm sorry. And then you just see, like, the world start to work in your favor. So that's my opinion of what a boundary is. Is it easy to get there? Not always. No.
Yeah.
But it definitely helps you a lot. So yeah.
I think
what is your version of a boundary?
Yeah, I think self-love, what you said, it really is you putting yourself first. I feel like that's what boundaries really are. For me, a little example, I'm the type of person, I used to just put guards up. That was how I protected myself. Literally guards up to the point where it's not just a line, it's not a boundary. I'm just keeping people out. But over time, I realized that by doing that, I was actually not helping myself or my relationships or anything in my life, because nothing was being dealt with. So what I really needed to do was change my guard into boundaries and actually go through and set it accordingly to each person in my life. And ever since I changed my guards into my boundaries, my life has changed, even mentally, because boundaries are necessary, like Hart said. for yourself first, and then for other people, because it allows you to realize how to have people in your life and what each person brings into your life and what you can give them back. And without boundaries, I think I personally lost myself many times, because a lot of us, when we don't set boundaries, all we're worried about is pleasing people and worried about other people's opinions and all that. And we forget that we probably should have our own opinions and what we want for ourselves way higher than anybody else's shit. So it was life changing. The moment I realized that I am using my anger to keep people out, where I actually just needed logic and empathy to set certain boundaries and keep people out in that way, instead of completely cutting people out, which I didn't grow from, and neither did somebody else, because nothing got communicated. And with boundaries, I feel you end up communicating a lot better as well.
You do, because at the end of the day, boundaries is about respect.
Yes.
Right? It's not about like being, I don't know, guarded. It's not about like any of that. It's about putting your respect in place. And in my opinion, I think boundaries are just like the basic guidelines, right? That people create so that they can establish how they behave and how other people behave around them, right? Like what behavior is okay, what's not, how to respond, like if someone crosses those limits, like, and I think that when you put boundaries in place, like it can help to make sure that the relationships are mutually respectful. Right? Like it's one of those things, man, where if you don't have any boundaries for yourself, like you were saying, like you can go in so many different directions and just be like people pleasing, because you don't know what's what for you. You don't know what the real shit is for you, because you're just like, yeah, sure, like I'll just go with that, I'll go with that, and you lose yourself in
and that's what I used to do.
And then when other people set their boundaries and you're like, oh, you take it personally, because you're like, well, they have respect for themselves and they know what works for them, and I don't have that. And it feels like anybody that is threatened by your boundaries probably doesn't have any of their own.
And probably don't have any respect for the person who's setting the boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you're one of those people, like I used to be like this, just like totally open, like, yeah, whatever goes, whatever flows, it's all good, da-di-da, da-di-da. And then I realized, I'm like, the second that someone does something that doesn't feel so good, I almost haven't earned the right to say anything, because I've just allowed people to just like come into this like heavenly fucking place. And it's, it doesn't give people any sort of guideline of what's okay and what's not okay. And then you want to selectively get mad. You know what I mean? But if you actually go through life and understand what some of your non-negotiables are, like, no, I can't deal with somebody who calls me this or swears this, like a trucker, or like somebody who, I mean, and there's certain things that are workable, but there comes a point in your life where you're like, unfortunately, I can't accept this. And I'll share with you guys very, very quickly. In relationships, like intimate relationships, is where I really had a tough time with that, because I so badly wanted to be validated through someone. I so badly wanted to be loved by somebody that I really didn't put in place any sort of like boundaries or restrictions, or I didn't allow anybody to earn it from me. Like I just kind of gave things because they gave me a little bit of love and I gave them the world. And that was not enough. So by the way, that's the quickest way to get breadcrumbed, when someone just kind of like gives you the bare minimum. So I was in a situation where I was talking to somebody, and girls, guys, you might be able to relate to this. I was talking to somebody and I really started to like them, and I started to develop feelings. And this person said to me, like, hey, like, I'm just looking for a good time, and I like you and all of that stuff. And like, we can totally hook up, and we can also be friends. We can also go do activities and this, that, and the other. And to me, I was like, isn't that a relationship? Because if you think about it, like in my books, if you're just hooking up, you're just hooking up. You're not frolicking in the fields in the middle of the afternoon as well, right?
Yeah.
And so this person wanted to do all those things. And so I started to develop feelings. And then one day I had to have a conversation and I said, listen, this isn't working for me. And I could have just allowed that to continue to be what it was because it was fun and I was getting validation. But I also knew where I wanted to go in my life, right? I didn't want to stay here in this department and get heartbroken. So I had to make a decision. I told this person, I said, this is not what works for me. It's crossing my boundary actually. And I had stated this at the beginning of the relationship too, that this is what I'm looking for. And they said they were looking for something else. Somehow we still managed to do our thing. But I had to restate my boundary and say, listen, I can't do this. This is what I need. And if you can't be here, meet this, then I gotta go. Because I can no longer like ignore what I need and my guidelines to just get a little bit of love. And I was willing to do that. And I said, you can't give this to me. And the person said, I don't think I can. And I said, all right, sounds good. It's been an awesome journey. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And very quickly, this person turned around and stepped up to the plate and said, I can't believe you're actually willing to walk away. And I said, I would much rather be alone than to be half somewhere. And I said, I can't do that anymore in my life. These are my boundaries and I'm stating them. And this person leveled up to my boundaries and said, all right, I'm going to meet them. And I'm going to do this with you. And had I not said anything, I would have continued to just be like in this gray area. But now I got what I wanted. And I got what I wanted by understanding what my boundaries were and what works. And I think it kind of shows people how they need to treat you and how they need to be with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, boundaries. Yeah, no, that is a great that's a great story about boundaries because it truly can turn ugly and disrespectful real quick. And again, if you don't talk about the boundaries or even what you're truly feeling, things just go away and nothing ever gets talked about. So the fact that you had that conversation, I think that's the way to go. And even for me, it wasn't, even relationships, as you started talking about it, I actually, in my head, I would always question why I'm dating certain people, but I would never have any boundaries set. So I would still just go dick around and be with the people that I truly don't actually probably want in my life long term. But that obviously may be a result of insecurity and other things as well. But main thing was that I just didn't have boundaries set up for my life and who I wanted in my life and how I wanted people in my life. Yeah. So you definitely get taken advantage of if you don't set your boundaries, because people will literally walk all over you. That's just, 100%. And it's not, and it that doesn't necessarily mean that people have wrong intention, but it's just because nothing is set up for you correctly. So things will just get taken advantage of by people. And for me, it was, we've talked about it. I moved around the world a lot. I lived in India, moved back here without my parents, here being Vancouver. Then I lived in Calgary. And I always had a vision of having, I have a lot of a big family, and I had a vision of being around my cousins and my loved ones regularly. And I yearned for that so bad. And for years, I think about from the age of, I moved back from India at 11, 12 or 11. And up until I would say 25, I would do anything to please people or show them that I'm there for them, while never being there for myself or setting any type of boundaries. If someone did something, I would just get angry and that would be it. It would never come to it would never come to a resolution of, maybe I need to have this person on a certain pedestal and a certain boundary set up for them so they don't get to do things to me, and vice versa. I also needed to respect other people's boundaries as well. Yeah. But like Hart said, if we don't have them set up, we can easily just expect a certain way of people to treat you. But So sorry, I'm like rambling all over the place. But what I realized that at the age of 25, I, for the first time in my life, I looked at myself and actually chose myself. I
Mm.
always chose everybody in my life, my whole life. Saw people, came down, like visited so much, just gave my time away and never set any boundaries. But at the age of 25, I realized that I was so empty. I was so empty from almost being drained of all the genuine love that I had, but I never left any of it for myself. And that was my life changing moment where I started saying no. Whenever I felt like I wasn't comfortable, if I didn't want to go somewhere, whatever it was, that was my first thing that I did on the journey of setting boundaries with people, saying no. If I
Mhm.
didn't want to go to a party, there was someone there that I was going to be uncomfortable, whatever it was. No, I'm not going to be there. And also, after I said no, not worrying about what that no is going to do to the person who's hearing it. Because that back in the day, I would be like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to just say yes. I'll just say yes. I'm just going to go. And if I'm uncomfortable, that's on me. I'll deal with it.
Mhm.
And so that was where my switch up happened. And after that, yeah, I started saying no. Then slowly just I realized that certain people, it's just certain boundaries need to be set up. And now today I have a handful of people that are the closest to me, and they have a certain boundary. And then there's people that are to the next level that have a certain boundary. And it took years of me giving my time away to realize that I actually needed to keep some time for myself.
Mhm.
And that's where my boundaries kicked in for me.
Yeah, it was understanding what environments work for you even and what
Exactly.
it means to say no. And I think saying no is we don't give it enough power. There's a lot of power in saying no. We always say like be a yes
Sorry, I think she
person.
froze. That's okay.
Oh, did I freeze? Am I frozen?
Just a little bit, but that's fine.
Oh,
You're good now. Yeah, you're
okay.
good.
I was saying that like we're always taught to just be yes people. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. It's positive, but I think there's a lot of positivity in no.
Yes.
Honestly, I do.
Yes.
And it's crazy because like, yeah, why are we afraid of setting boundaries? Like setting them is important. Okay, cool. But like, why is it so tough to set them? And I think it's because we it's not because we're like selfless and we're super compassionate and loving and just care about everybody. Like it's not because of that. I think it's because we have this like dire need to be liked.
Yeah, I
That's
think as
why
humans, for sure.
it's a self-validation thing, right? It's
Hmm.
like you need to be loved by people at any cost to your integrity.
And also that people have a good view of you.
Yeah, like you almost prioritize other people's perception of you over anything else,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Yeah.
like that's like a classic broken scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like person that is needing validation so badly from a person that won't ever give it to them, and they just like continue to do this thing, right? And so then when you actually get validation from someone, it's almost like foreign to you, so you just like write that off, and you become more attracted to people that don't validate your boundaries until you realize that that's bullshit behavior and that it actually sets you back. I
Yeah.
look at my life and oftentimes I'm like, why am I not a lot farther than I thought I would be at this age? And I look back, I'm like, because I always said yes to things that I didn't really give a shit about. Because I
Yep.
actually cared more about being liked and I thought that was going to progress me. When in reality, had I learned to say no a long time ago and had I learned to set my boundaries 10 years ago, I would have been in a completely different place, but I may not
Yep.
have learned this lesson. And I think that like when somebody struggles to set boundaries is because they're actually uh, internally they're disrespectful to themselves and that's what they know. They don't know how
Exactly.
to function any other way, and um, they need to they need everyone to approve of them instantly. And when you lack boundaries, you lack self-esteem.
I literally, what she just said, that was me. I thought by giving all my time away and giving all the love to everybody else, I'm gonna be perfectly fine. Not
Yeah.
realizing deep down inside, I'm miserable. I'm not even happy. I don't even love myself. I don't even respect
Yeah.
myself.
And
So
people pick
what the
up
hell?
on it. People pick
What
up
the
on it,
fuck?
but they don't give it
Yeah.
to
And
you.
what the fuck are people gonna give me when I'm not even giving it to myself? That's another thing. If you're not setting boundaries for yourself, no motherfucker's gonna do it for you.
It's crazy. And like now that I'm in a place where I'm stronger and I do set boundaries, I can see it in someone else when they don't. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy how they are doing everything they can to be liked, and you can see it and you almost don't give them that much value because it's hard. Like people match you where you are. People don't overvalue you. People tend to either value you exactly where you are or undervalue you. So
Yeah.
at least get people to value you where you're at. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things, man, where I look back and or I see someone else now and I'm like, yo, I know that you're trying to get accepted and loved, but you need to value yourself because this ain't cute.
Yeah. No. And yeah, exactly, man. I feel like it's a lifelong process. Boundaries. People are in their 60s and have not set them, and people
Yeah,
have died and haven't set them. And there's people coming right behind us that are working and realize they're going through what me and her just talked about.
yeah,
And they're going to get to a place where they're going to realize that boundaries will save your mental health. Personally, that's what I think and what it has done for me. It really has saved my mental health because
yeah,
I was expecting so much from everybody in my life until I realized none of those people were going to give it to me, and that they weren't giving it to me. And I had to really look inwards and look at myself and face all the shit that I just mentioned, all the insecurities, everything that I was lacking because I didn't have the respect for myself.
yeah.
And that ended up leading other people for not having respect for me because
That's
I,
how
you
it
know what I
goes.
mean? I exuded that energy.
Yeah, that's how it matches. And um, when you're about to set boundaries for yourself, I think it's important that you be okay with and understand that you are going to lose some things from your life. And you're not really losing, you're actually just getting rid of things that should have never been there. And I think even when it comes to like the workplace, like you set your boundaries with, well, oftentimes like we're scared to set boundaries with any person of authority. It's like your boss or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
just because like there's someone that has quote unquote authority, that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to have your boundaries,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like if you're not being treated properly, if you're being disrespected, like you have to set your boundaries. And if that means that you lose your job, then you fucking lose your job.
yeah,
Your
no.
integrity stays with you.
Mm, yeah,
Tell a person you're
mm,
in a relationship with, like, listen, like you don't treat me right. This is what I need. And they walk away, then they fucking walk away. Right? You lose
yeah,
friendships, you
yeah.
lose friendships. At the end of the day, it's better to lose other people and things in your life than to lose yourself in the process.
Because that's the biggest thing you'll lose if you keep giving your time away to other people or thinking that by giving your time away to people, you're actually making your life better and helping others.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're literally obviously hurting yourself the most.
Mm-hmm.
And people usually, a lot of people don't really give a fuck about someone else's opinion when they have their own opinion about whatever situation they're in. So
100%.
yeah, I think boundary is literally you just asking for respect from people. It's just a, and I feel like just like vulnerability we talked about last week has a negative, what's that word? I was going to say condensation, but that's water. But it has a negative tone to it.
Connotation.
Yeah, boundaries is the same. A lot of people consider boundaries to be negative as well. But I feel like boundaries is actually the healthiest thing you can actually do for yourself
Yeah.
and for the relationships and people in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really, like Hart said, it really just teaches somebody how to treat you.
Totally.
That's all it really does.
100%. And I think it reminds you how to treat yourself too in a moment where you don't feel too hot.
Like I said, like pushed myself, always gave the time away. Didn't even think that I might need that time myself. So I think boundaries is the healthiest thing you can do for your mental health, for the people in your life. It really is something that slowly over time, hopefully you're able to set them up, even with their parents. This doesn't just, it's literally everyone in your life. But again, of course, it comes with experiences, it comes with time, and also how hard you push yourself, or how many no's you end up saying, or what struggles you go through to end up at a point where you're like, okay, I need to do something. Just like I hit my rock bottom was, I don't see anybody in sight that I thought would be right all around me, because I was always there for everybody else.
Totally.
So you got to let go of that and realize that only person that can be there is you, firstly. And then, of course, the people that will respect your boundaries, they'll be around. You'll see them. They're not going to be going far. They're actually going to respect you for respecting yourself.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things, man. We gotta get better at as a society, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Boundaries.
Yeah, guys.
We want to know how you guys feel about boundaries. I want to know how you guys feel about or where you're at. Tell us where you're at in your journey of setting boundaries.
Or are you feeling like, do you realize that you're being disrespected by the people in your life? Do you pick up on that and then let it go anyways? Because that will tell you that in the future you're gonna have to set those boundaries, because eventually that will get to you. So share your stories. Let us know if we didn't talk about something that you may want us to talk about. We can always do part 2. Because again, these are life topics that I think there's so much to unravel, and one video can only do so much. So let us know if you guys want more. Otherwise, every Wednesday we have a new episode. And yeah, I think that's it for today.
Awesome. See you guys next week.
All right, guys. Bye, guys.
Bye.